Kanye West, he would be facing sex trafficking charges if it was anywhere else. A lot of celebrities that saw it. There's probably a lot of stuff. Look at Usher. What Usher say? I seen some things I shouldn't have been seeing at that age. What does that tell you? That he's seen some things, he was around some things when he was young that he shouldn't have been at a Diddy party. So that's going to show you that there's certain things that are happening that's going on that here it is, this kid was saying he shouldn't even seen it in.
Gene Deal has publicly claimed that he exposed ties between Sean Diddy Combs and several major celebrities, including Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Usher. According to him, these names were originally part of the wider conversation, but were later removed or avoided in the documentary, which has led many people to question why those connections were left out in the first place. Gene explained that he wanted to address these alleged connections one by one. The first celebrity he spoke about in his recent interview was Usher. Gene pointed to past comments Usher has made about being exposed to things at a young age that he should not have been around. According to Gene, that statement alone carries serious weight because it suggests Usher may have been placed in environments that were not appropriate for someone his age, especially within Diddy's inner circle.
A certain feeling, and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bro, you know I know.
Gene Deal then made a much more serious claim, saying that Usher's time around Diddy allegedly involved an incident so severe that Usher ended up in the hospital. Gene stated that Usher himself has hinted at this in the past, even though he has never gone into full detail about what happened. Gene questioned why someone who may have been mistreated during his youth would later defend or publicly praise the person he associates with those experiences. To explain why this issue matters to him personally, Gene recalled specific moments from that period. He said he personally witnessed behavior that made it clear the environment surrounding Diddy was not appropriate, particularly for young artists who were still learning the industry and trying to find their place.
Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room, had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right when you was at Diddy.
According to Gene, one of the most disturbing allegations was deliberately left out of the documentary, despite its seriousness, and that omission raised red flags for him.
I heard about some music executive from the industry back in Harlem. You know, I heard it from some music executives back in Harlem. And I'm not going to speak on their name. They doing programs and everything like that, and they may be doing some, they may speak on it themselves. But I heard it from some music executives.
What did you hear?
Bro, you know how people be talking and we was around some people, something like that, and then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? it was one of those type of situations. And was probably say, yo, man, I don't F with them niggas. Man, I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, nigga was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you heard, and that's what happened.
Gene claimed that what happened to Usher was not only known by people in the industry, but that silence was the norm. In his view, staying quiet was often seen as the safest option. He then shifted the conversation to Jamie Foxx, making it clear that he would only speak about what he personally witnessed. Gene said he first met Jamie Foxx on a tour bus during a trip he barely remembers now. At the time, the interaction seemed friendly and casual, and nothing suggested a deep relationship. However, Gene later claimed that he became aware of disturbing behavior involving Diddy and Jamie Foxx toward women.
Some friendship stuff, and it was a tour bus, and Puff was in the back, and there was a lot of girls in the front, and Jamie was just real touchy-feely, but Puff didn't come out the back. I don't know if Puff came out the back of the tour bus. You understand? And Jamie went back there for a minute or so. Then he just came out and he was all touchy-feely with the girls. And I'm looking at this dude like, wow, this dude kind of like touchy-feely with these girls, and he don't even know them. They know him because he's Jamie Foxx, but he didn't know them. So I don't really know their real relationship or how close they was. I didn't meet Jamie Foxx and really have a conversation with him until...
These claims stood out even more because Jamie Foxx has publicly spoken about partying with Diddy and participating in what were described as extreme party environments. Gene pointed to past comments Jamie Foxx made about teaching Diddy how to party on a budget, which in hindsight, some people now view differently. Gene raised questions about why federal authorities were allegedly present around Diddy in the past, suggesting that there may be deeper layers to the story.
I went to an exotic bookstore, with Puff. I didn't know he even did that, but we was in Atlanta. So when we went to the door, they gave him a brown paper bag. So I guess this is a place that he was used to and people knew him there. So when they gave him a brown paper bag, Puff was just going around the store, just picking items off the shelves and stuff like that, putting them in a brown paper bag. So then, I was behind him and no Diddy, but I was about 3 feet behind him, as he was putting stuff and putting it in his bag and stuff like that. So there's one particular place that he was put up there, he had to reach up kind of high and get it. So he just started pulling things out. And he was pulling a lot of them off there. So I was like, so I looked up and the thing said butt plugs. When he walking down the thing, said butt plugs. I said, hey, yo, just to mess with him. I said, hey, yo, what are you getting these for? And he said, can I do my shopping by myself? I said, yes, you can. And I waited up at the register for him, because they had the big counter up there. So when he came to the counter, I said, yo, I'm finna see what this motherfucker this mofo is putting in his bag. Cause I know he gonna have to take everything and put it on the counter so the dude could count it, right? My man, when he came there, he gave the dude a wad of hundreds like this. So he gave him a wad of 100 and just put it up there. The dude ain't even, what I'm saying? He ain't even want to know what was in the bag.
While these claims remain unproven, they continue to fuel speculation and debate online. The next name Gene said was noticeably absent from the documentary was Ja Rule. According to Gene, his story involving Diddy and Ja Rule began while they were on the road in Atlanta. He described going into a specialty store with Diddy and being surprised by how comfortable Diddy seemed in that environment.
And he was talking bad and talking crazy about Jay-Z and how Ja was talking about if it wasn't for him, that Jay wouldn't be the artist he was. He got him started. He wrote certain things and stuff like that to put him out there because, back in the day, nobody was even effing with Jay like that. So, but Puff was he was adamant about Ja going at.
Afterward, they boarded a private jet and flew to North Carolina for a show, with Ja Rule traveling alongside them. Gene claimed that during this time, Diddy repeatedly pushed Ja Rule to go after Jay-Z musically, raising questions about whether Diddy was intentionally trying to spark a major feud. When they arrived at the hotel, they stayed in a large suite where people were eating, talking, and hanging out. Later that night, Gene said Diddy, Ja Rule, and several women went into a separate room together.
When they went to the room, I don't know what they were doing in there. I didn't give a shit. But Puff told me, Gene, do not let nobody come in this room. Don't let nobody come in this room. So hour or so went by, whatever like that. Time went by. The doorbell rang. And it was this dude at the door saying that he was Ja's cousin. And I was like, he said, I'm here for Ja Rule. I said, who you? He said, I'm his cousin and everything like that. I said, but yo, he busy right now. I'm telling the dude that he's busy. You know, the dude is talking about, yo, but I want to talk to him. I said, yo, bro, they don't want to be bothered. You know, I'm trying to, you know, tell this kid, yo, they don't want to be bothered, bro. You know what I'm saying? He said, yo, but that's my cousin. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, listen here, bro. They're in a room. They don't want to be bothered. You know, and you could see that there's only one room going back that way when you come to the room. You can see it's only one room. So then it's a piano, it's a couch, it's a room right there. And he talking about he was going through the room. I said, yo, bro, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the breath out of my body before you go in that room. You understand? Next thing you know, I grabbed him and we started. It wasn't no wrestling thing like that because he couldn't handle it at the time. He could front and tell his friends because he didn't hit me up on Instagram. He could tell his friends all he want to. But that if Puff and Ja tell you the story, that nigga was upside the piano. You understand? So now, Ja and Puff run out. They butt the naked, bruh. And they was grabbing towels. You understand? They was grabbing towels. And then Puff was like, yo, Gene, what's going on? Ja was like, yo. He said, that's my cousin. I was like, yo, bruh. He tried to get in the room, and I wasn't letting him get in the room, bruh. And then Puff looked at Ja like this, you know, what that looked like, he said. And then Ja said, you don't want to be up in that room because there was a whole lot of freaky shit going on.
Before they entered, Diddy allegedly gave Gene one clear instruction: do not let anyone else enter that room. Gene also added that Diddy was known for placing people into carefully constructed situations designed to influence their actions during those nights. According to Gene, it was never random. He believes Diddy was deliberately trying to push Ja Rule in a specific direction, both creatively and strategically. Whether Ja Rule will ever publicly speak about what Diddy allegedly did to him remains unclear. The next major name Gene Deal addressed was Jay-Z. Gene explained why he believes Jay-Z and Diddy were far closer than the public has been led to believe, even though official statements later downplayed their relationship. In Gene's view, what connected them was not friendship, but business. He claimed they were aligned around the same goal, and that goal was controlling the direction of East Coast rap.
And Puff was given an assignment, and that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother. Is that New York rappers was getting 800 to 1.2 million, or some larger than that, and to sign with labels back then. And they was getting a lot of money to make albums and records. When they had guys down south that these labels was paying $250,000, $300,000 on record deals, and these guys was bringing back platinum albums and everything like that. So what they had to do was they had to keep New York rappers down. That's one reason, other than the Irv Gotti shit that 50 was going through and the poison they was putting in about 50, he had to go elsewhere to California or with Jay and not with Dre and Eminem to get a deal. They did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that. That's why when I heard your story, because I knew this for a long time, but when I heard Dame Dash that Jay wouldn't sign off on nothing, Jay wouldn't do this and Jay would that, because he couldn't let a Cameron blow up. He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up. Because him and Diddy was giving that deal, we got to keep these East Coast rappers down. Because down South rappers,
According to Gene, the industry reached a point where labels no longer wanted to keep paying massive advances to New York artists, while Southern artists were generating more profit with smaller budgets. Instead of restructuring the system, Gene believes executives chose to suppress East Coast momentum. He says this environment is one of the reasons 50 Cent struggled early in his career. Gene claims that label politics and negative rumors followed 50, making it nearly impossible for him to break through in New York. That pressure eventually pushed 50 to leave the East Coast in search of opportunity elsewhere, which ultimately led to his success outside his home region.
Place to destroy the East Coast rap. And then along came a somebody that was about to bring East Coast rap back. And there's nothing they could do about it. And this kid was finna put East Coast on the map, just like Big did. And this was after 50. And that was Papa Smoke. Pop Smoke. That was Pop Smoke. Let me just tell you something, man. 2 weeks before Pop Smoke died, K Slay, who heard this shit from the industry, that knows shit that happens in the industry, set Pop Smoke and his people down and gave them a jewel. He said, y'all gonna have to protect him with his life, with y'all life. Y'all gonna have to protect him with y'all life. Because he know Pop Smoke was about to bring rap back to the East Coast. And what happened? Pop Smoke ended up dead. Now, I ain't trying to say that's some kind of conspiracy. And maybe some other shit was going on, or this, that, and the third. But brother, he had that conversation with K Slay 2 weeks before he was murdered. They didn't want rap to be back on the East Coast.
Gene believes this history explains why 50 holds deep resentment toward both Jay-Z and Diddy. Gene ended that point by saying he does not view this as hard proof, but as a pattern he has watched repeat over decades. Every time East Coast rap appeared ready to fully regain dominance, something seemed to stop it. From his perspective, Jay-Z and Diddy were much closer than people are willing to admit today.
It's enough that they wasn't playing basketball, they wasn't playing baseball, they wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it. But I don't know what kind of half a homo that is. And you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same.
Although Jay-Z's lawyer later claimed that he and Diddy were never truly friends, Gene argues that public behavior tells a different story. He says their interactions went beyond business, claiming they joked about personal lives and even shared similar lifestyle choices, including dating patterns that mirrored each other. Gene also pointed out that many industry power figures operate inside a bubble. According to him, they create situations, stir chaos, and then move on without consequences because their wealth and influence separate them from reality. He believes that mindset was common during that era, but warned that it can eventually catch up to people.
Close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. So I got to go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pocket's 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that I was gonna knock out. And then we was at the it was me, him, Ashley Kushner, Puff and them. We was all at the next game together, and he didn't even remember none of it. And I don't expect him to remember, but I remembered. You understand? And he told Puff, he said, yo, Puff, yo, I heard about that nigga Gene right there. That nigga Gene got a mean left. Oh, he said, that nigga Gene a knock a nigga out. Then he gonna come up to me and say, man, you look like, man, you a tear nigga ass up. And I said to himself, I said, yo, no Diddy. Pause. Whatever. I said, he don't even remember. I was about to knock him the F out. He didn't even remember. He said to me to Laura. That's how these guys are, man.
The final and perhaps most explosive name Gene discussed was Kanye West. Gene highlighted how, prior to Diddy's arrest, Kanye had publicly criticized Diddy in interviews, making harsh comments and distancing himself. Then, suddenly, Kanye appeared back around Diddy, even wearing clothing that signaled public support. Gene described this as a familiar industry pattern, people switching sides when it becomes convenient or protective. He suggested Kanye may be acting out of fear, possibly worried that he could be next. Gene then referenced claims made by a woman named Jane, who described being invited on a Las Vegas trip by Kanye and his wife. According to her account, what followed during that trip was disturbing. What stood out most to Gene was the timing. He pointed out that one day Kanye's name or description appears in court discussions, and the very next day Kanye is physically present showing support for Diddy. To Gene, that sequence did not feel accidental. It felt calculated. Over time, as money and power increased, Gene believes relationships fractured, and Kanye began lashing out at people he felt had turned against him. From that perspective, Kanye's court appearance earlier this year looked more symbolic than meaningful. Gene questioned whether Kanye's presence actually helped Diddy at all, especially considering Kanye's long history of controversial behavior. That raises the bigger question. Why do you think 50 Cent chose not to include or fully address these celebrities in the documentary? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more unfiltered breakdowns of hip-hop power plays, industry politics, and stories mainstream media avoids, make sure you like, subscribe, and share to support Drama and Brief. We're just getting started.